Well, it's 11:30, so good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the newly renovated Riverside Park. We're thankful that so many of you have been with us every step of the way, beginning with the Riverside Park master planning and the many projects including the playground, tree and garden plantings, the spray ground, the packet boat marshal shelter, the remodeled steam locomotive, the train shed, are here to celebrate the completion of Riverside Park Phase 1 and Phase 2 projects. My name is Jennifer Jones, and I'm the Director of Parks and Recreation. Today marks the culmination of an idea that began over 10 years ago. A grassroots idea energized by many civic organizations, Riverside Park neighbors, and individual citizens that wanted a beautiful community space where families, teenagers, tennis players, hikers, and children of all ages could enjoy active and passive recreation. There was much community support for the novel transportation theme that features a packet boat, a remodeled steam train, a train-themed playground, and a uniquely engineered railroad truss. From a functional standpoint, many barriers were removed, making access and travel from the parking lot to the playground, to the spray ground, to the restrooms, and down to this remodeled train easier for folks with limited mobility. Before I pass the program to our Park Service Manager, Andy Reeder, I'd like to recognize several distinguished guests in our presence today. We have Vice Mayor Caesar Johnson, and Member of City Council Turner Perot. Thank you all for joining us in this celebration today. And finally, a major shout out to Kay Frazier, the past Director of Parks and Recreation, whose energy, talents, and cooperative spirit is infused in every aspect of these new improvements in Riverside Park. Kay couldn't be with us today, but we're grateful for her leadership, initiative, and master planning expertise, and for allowing me to swoop in after all the hard work was done and claim all the glory and accolades. Really, thanks to Kay, City Council, city leaders like Kim Payne and Vonnie Sverchek, project managers Charles Ripley and Charlie Yule, Public Works and their park maintenance crew, the many civic-minded individuals and organizations that made this project possible. With the new ADA improvements, all people can now enjoy Riverside Park without barrier. Thank you. Now, Andy Reeder.
Thank you, Jenny. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Andrew Reeder, and I'm the Parks Manager for the city. I'd like to join Jenny in welcoming you today to the much-anticipated completion of the Riverside Park renovations, both Phase 1 and Phase 2. Like all undertakings, this has really been a journey, and it's fitting that our travels end here, right where they began, in front of this venerable Chesapeake and Ohio locomotive back in 1962. It was then that these three train cars, a combination Chesapeake and Ohio locomotive, a Southern Railway passenger coach, and a Norfolk and Western caboose, were donated to the city and delivered to the park. The city had to clear land and lay an 800-foot temporary spur from the main rail line in order to move these into the park. You can almost hear the clang of the metal on the rail lines now and the murmur of the crowd, much like today. Phase 1 improvements were outlined in the John Milner and Associates master plan. The largest of these improvements was the train shed itself. Construction design began in 2011, with construction beginning in 2014 and completed in, what time is it? Just about right now. So it took a while to get done. The Phase 1 improvements totaled about $1.2 million, and fortunately, $800,000 of that was funded through grant funding safety loo money supplied by VDOT. That's a great thing, and you'll see that throughout our talk this morning, that we garnered a lot of money from grant funding and through donations. Now completed, the terrain shed is a massive structure, fully 155 feet long by 27 feet wide, 20 feet high. The city is currently working on a management plan and hopes to have the train open for self-guided tours on weekends within the next 30 days. We also hope to have special guided interpretive tours with the help of the Kiwanis available soon. That will be arranged through the Parks and Recreation Department. Riverside Park Phase 2 consisted mainly of renovations of the main parking lot with a new paver drop-off area for the playground and spray ground, additional paver spaces along the parking perimeter, metal post and chain bollards, vegetated parking islands, and other stormwater environmental features. The cost of that project was approximately $350,000. Again, $125,000 of that was a CDBG grant. However, these weren't the only improvements made in the park in recent years. Other renovations were completed outside of the scope of these projects. They included the Lynchburg Historical Foundation's work at the Packetboat Marshall, the Junior League, work at the Spray Ground, development of Lynchburg's first universally accessible playground by the Lynchburg Rotary Club, and work done by the James River Garden Club and Lynchburg Garden Club at the historic gazebo. So there's been a lot of partners here in Lynchburg, at Riverside Park, and that's because a lot of people love this park, as we do. Altogether, there's been over $2 million spent in this park, with about $1.2 million of that being grant-funded or donated monies. That's a pretty good ratio. There are many people that we'd like to thank for this, and the Kiwanis Club of Lynchburg deserves our sincere thanks and admiration for sticking to the project. This was not easy. Two individuals within the Kiwanis organization deserve special praise, and that's Bill Hodges and Scott Ling, without whom this project wouldn't have been completed. So if you can give Bill and Scott a round of applause. I can't tell you how many times they were the only ones out here working, and they just did a great job. By the way, the first meeting with the Kiwanis was back in 2006. So it tells you how long this has been going on. A long time. Parks and Rec isn't the only department working on these projects. Every department in the city works on these projects. One of our departments that we work hand in glove with that often doesn't get mentioned is Public Works. We depend on them an awful lot, especially building grounds. And so I want to thank them personally for all the help they've given us. One of our best partners is Gaynell Hart and her senior team, Klaus Schreiber, Jerry Whitmore, Kirk Schultz, Clay Simmons. They all do a great job, and without them, our parks wouldn't get mowed, they wouldn't be maintained, and we wouldn't be able to use them. So, again, these folks are indispensable. We'd also like to thank the people who designed the Phase 1 improvements, Lardner Klein, landscape architects, and our in-town engineers, Wiley and Wilson, did a fantastic job. Robertson Construction was the contractor that built the project. The Virginia Department of Transportation funded the grant monies. Thank you very much. We hope there's more of that. Charles Ripley was the project manager, and he just did a great job. And personally, I'd like to thank Charles. And again, I'd also like to thank Charlie Ewell, who's the construction manager, and he just did a great job all these years, and as did Kay Frazier and Ann Majeski. None of these projects could be done, though, without the support of our city manager, Kimball Payne, who has supported us throughout the project, and as did Bonnie Zverchek, our city manager in training, who is now taking over, and look forward to working with her. And of course, City Council. None of this happens without City Council support, and we are so fortunate to have had City Council support all these years, because they have a great vision for Lynchburg. And our latest director, Jimmy Jones, is going to continue that tradition, I know, and we thank her for her support. Last but not least, the citizens of Lynchburg for their unyielding support of parks and trails, because they love great parks. And great public parks are those places where social interaction occurs independently and where we're able to meet friends and family to celebrate not only the important moments of our lives, but the mundane as well. In other words, greatness in a park is not reserved for special functions, but where parts of our everyday lives can occur. While we hear a lot about the benefits of parks, these advantages are nothing new. In addition to the important virtues that parks bring to cities, as Frederick Law Olmsted enumerated in an 1865 letter to a newspaper, namely increased real estate value, better public health, an amicable public gathering place, and promotion of safety and social order, there are many more values that parks both possess and provide. We are so lucky here in Lynchburg to be blessed with a citizenry who appreciates great parks and the journey that is required to attain them. Thank you for joining us on that journey. Next is Scott Lang with the Kiwanis.
Thank you, Andy. Well, welcome, city dignitaries and Kiwanians. 54 years ago...
God, hold it up closer to your mouth.
54 years ago, on July 20th, Mayor Bill Vaughn and the City Council dedicated this train as the first exhibit of Lynchburg's new transportation park. And little did they know that they would have a magnificent pavilion over top of it. Unfortunately, in the work that we were doing to preserve the train, we lost a passenger car. It was a little bit too far gone and it had to be removed. It shortened our project by 80 feet, and it shortened the pavilion by 80 feet. I think that helped in the long run. Southern Railway was a company that provided that car, and they also provided the funds, or most of the funds, for putting in the spur, which went from here all the way across the trestle and then into Monroe. In keeping with the dedication of this train and the pavilion, from the Kiwanis standpoint, as a transportation theme, there's the Fink Truss Bridge just behind the train, which was dedicated as a transportation item, and also the packet boat, Marshall, up on the hill. And all I can think of is that this is just a start. And we've got Piedmont cars that were built in Lynchburg. We've got trolleys that ran up and down Rivermont Avenue that we could bring into this park as static displays like we have here. And open it up to the citizens to climb around and enjoy and see part of the transportation history that this city has. So we're getting really close. We probably have maybe another 2 months to finish out our work here by the painting, the decaling. If you go inside the caboose, you'll see there's 3 beds. They need to have mattresses put on them and last minute details. The engine up front needs to have the gauges installed, and the lettering on all of the cars will be done within that next 2 months period of time as well. So we can see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. We're getting closer and closer. I would like to let you know that this Virginian caboose is the last wooden caboose still on its trucks. All the other Virginian cabooses, which Norfolk and Western ended up with, have lost their trucks, or that's the wheels underneath it, or have been destroyed in one fashion or another. At this time, I'd like to introduce my friend and fellow Kiwanian, Bill Hodges, the co-chair for this project. There was a time when we thought there would be two RIP headstones up here with Bill's name on one and mine on the other. So it's nice to see this coming to an end.
Thank you very much. 10 years is a long time to remember back to the time when we Kiwanians first considered refurbishing the train at Riverside Park. No, I think 12 or 13 years have now passed, maybe even more than that. It was during the time when David Hepner was Lynchburg Kiwanis' club president, when I asked him if the Kiwanis Club could take on the project. He said, "If we do, will you be willing to be in charge of it?" I said, yes, not fully realizing that I would be committing 10 years of spare time, mostly Saturdays, to getting the project done. And I didn't finish it. That part fell to Kiwanian Scott Ling and the City of Lynchburg's Park and Recreation Department. Andy Reeder in charge there, who built the structure you see before you now. I, the Kiwanis Club, and the City of Lynchburg owe them a tremendous debt of gratitude for the wonderful job that they have done. And I want to give them a hand. I prepared a paper which I have passed out to some of you, and my wife has a few more copies of it. She's in the blue coat up here. And I might say at the time, I thank my wife for supporting me in all of this that we did. It was pretty tough on her at times, I think. I prepared a paper outlining which I thought what the building needed to be. And I'm very proud that many of my features and the concerns were used by the city's designers and incorporated into the new building far better than I could have imagined. The city has done their job magnificently, and Scott is still corralling Kiwanians to put the last finishing touches on the engine, such as mounting the whistle, headlight, gauges, and other items that needed to be protected from vandalism until the city finished getting the security fences in place. There are others without whom this project could never have been completed. Greg Jameson, a friend of mine from church who is a carpenter par excellence, specializing in remodeling old structures, worked tirelessly for several years of Saturdays, rebuilding the wooden Virginian caboose from the ground up. Practically all the wood had to be replaced because it had become rotten. He got us to find blueprints and pictures of other similar cabooses from the railroad and did a lot of research to make sure we were right in what we did as we rebuilt. I got to change the pages here. Virginian's number 64 caboose. He turned out to be a mastermind. After a couple of years' work, he, Scott, and I compiled a list of things still to be done on the caboose, and I've included it in the materials I've handed around to illustrate the detail of the work we faced. Another was Chris McBride, who spent 2 summers sandblasting the Chesapeake and Ohio's engine and tender and spray painting a primer and 2 coats of black paint on them. I took a picture, and I couldn't find a picture, of the engine in its primer, and it was cream colored. There was no way that we could have done the job without him. The Roanoke Transportation Museum put us on to him. He is still working with us to get the last details right on the engine. Look at the cab interior and the leatherwork. Incidentally, this Baldwin engine was one of the last steam engines made in the U.S. and incorporated the latest steam technology available at the time. One of the features were 4 steam turbine-powered trucks under the cab, in addition to the 8 drive wheels. And you might want to look at that. One of the casualties was the Southern's passenger car. Much of the metal had rusted out, leaving a lot of asbestos exposed. We decided to scrap it because of the cost of repairing it. The job became so large that co-chairs Scott Ling, Robert Gilbert, and Bill Hodges were selected to oversee the project. I was doing it at first by myself, but fortunately they came aboard and gave me a big hand, and I have to say that they were the primary people that got this thing finished. Archer Haskin, I remember that Scott Ling supplied the wood for the caboose. Archer Haskins was instrumental in finding gauges to replace the broken ones, which still have to be mounted. Many others, particularly members of the Kiwanis Club of Lynchburg and Lynchburg's Park and Recreation Department, contributed to the final success that you see here today. Thank you, everyone who helped us. Without you, none of this would happen. Scott tells me this is still too wordy. Remember the poem about Finnegan's report of a railroad accident? It was criticized for being too wordy. The next report of an accident said simply, off again, on again, gone again, Finnegan. Thank you.
You want to call campaign up?
Tim Kane, could you come up here?
Ken Payne.
I've got something.
Ken Payne.
Tim Payne, whatever. I'm sorry.
We need a little help here. So.
You're a short timer now.
Soon they forget.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for all your work.
This is a promotional shirt that we did for the train.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Vice Mayor Caesar T. Johnson.
Thank you all so very much for being here today. And this is a wonderful day as we got a break in our monsoon to come out today. So while the Lord has blessed us with a little sunshine, I'd like to ask my fellow council members that are here, Turner Perro and John Foster, if they'll come up with me. Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I bring you greetings on behalf of City Council and Mayor Michael Gillette. Mayor Gillette had a business obligation and could not join us this morning. But he wanted you to know that just like the rest of us, he is extremely proud of this lovely gem of a park, and just as proud of all of you who, by working together, made today possible. Parks are a tangible reflection of the quality of life in a community. They provide identity for citizens and are a major factor in the perception of quality of life in a given community. Our parks contribute to the health and wellness of our residents and others who visit. According to studies by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, creating, improving, and promoting places to be physically active can improve individual and community health. Another study has shown that there is a significant relationship and reduction in stress, lower blood pressure, and perceived physical health to the length of stay and visit to parks. As has been mentioned, Riverside Park has a rich history and plays an important role in this community. The improvements that have been made here to date will preserve this park for generations to come. I thank the Department of Parks and Recreation for their vision, our community partners, Lynchburg Kiwanis, the Lynchburg Historical Foundation, the Junior League of Lynchburg, and others for their partnership and their hard work and their money. This has been an investment well spent, and your hard work is much appreciated. Congratulations, and enjoy our parks.
I'd like to call up all the council members, Kim Payne, the Kiwanians, for our ribbon cutting, please. 1, 2, 3, cut.
Here. Left-handed shears, Bill.
Yeah.